once told a child's fable about the Grinch who was quite unable to steal the cheer that the holidays brought, and about the lesson that he was taught. But if you'll lend me an ear or two, I'll tell you a similar story that's new. It's about a man who commits a crime, discovers the truth that's older than time. It's a prime example of intellectual snobbery in what came to be known as the Great Church Robbery. The church was known for its love and affection, and they invited folks in from every direction. But to one neighbor, named Mr. DeWitt, their invitations didn't matter one bit. DeWitt hated them for their Christian religion. He held no love, not even a smidgen. He considered their pastor to be a big fake, and their clanging church bells made his head ache. But he felt that way not because of his head, but the fact that his soul was spiritually dead. So with a heart full of meanness and doubt, he watched Sunday morning as their service lit out, staring out of his window with a cold, ugly sneer at their warm handshakes and smiles full of cheer.
"There I'll be returning,"
he said with a bark,
"for tonight's service as soon as it's dark, and then with their worship they'll raise a commotion, but what's it about I haven't a notion. They'll set that big church bell to ringing, they'll all begin praying and singing, they'll pound the piano and organ too, but why they must do it I haven't a clue. Why, for too many years I've put up with this stuff. It's driving me crazy, I've had quite enough."
As he got angrier thinking about how they would do it, he suddenly snapped.
"I must put a stop to it, without all their church stuff,"
he went on with a growl.
"Their bright, happy mood would quickly turn foul."
Then a wicked idea, his wicked old brain.
"I'll pretend I'm a blind man with dark glasses and a cane. I'll steal all their things that if anyone spies me, in my clever getup they won't recognize me."
Yes, he felt quite proud and thought himself wise, so armed with a plan and a tricky disguise. So he cranked up his pickup and took off with a lurch and pulled it back into the back door of the church. Determined that his entry would nothing block, he used a screwdriver to jimmy the lock.
"This is too easy,"
the fake blind man hissed as he tiptoed inside, clean clenched in his fist. Then he lowered his glasses and peered all around to make sure that no one was there to be found.
"These speakers,"
he said,
"are the first things I'll steal."
as he loaded them onto his truck with the old heel. Then he ripped up and threw out the pads on the pews. Yes, he took every comfort, and the instruments too. Then he carried the songbooks, all he could have, and even the Bible was not above theft. When he had taken all he could rob, he was turning to go when he heard a small sob. Grabbing his cane, he spun round with a whirl. There stood by the altar a tiny young girl.
"Who's there?"
he asked while tapping the cane.
"You see, I'm quite blind and I don't know your name."
My daddy's the pastor. I'm Christina Beggs.
Then with a trembling voice she asked,
Who are you?
"Just a friend.
he said,
No need to fear."
as he motioned the little girl to draw near. DeWitt faked a smile and knelt down beside her, and when she smiled back, the room somehow seemed brighter.
"You see,
He lied.
God sent me indeed, for even a blind man can see your need. So I'm taking out the old and buying all new. As soon as I'm finished, I'll send it to you."
So he pulled the wool over her eyes with his sightless act and clever lies. Then he condescendingly patted her head, and he was taken aback at the next thing she said.
Oh, kind sir, I wonder if I might pray that the Lord would give you your sight.
And before he could answer and move out of the way, she laid her small hands on his brow to pray.
Dear Jesus, I thank you for being so kind, and I ask you to touch this man who is blind. Bring the light to his eyes and help him to see. So give him this gift, Lord, and do it for me.
And when she had finished, his throat was all dry, and behind his dark glasses a tear dimmed his eye. And conviction had fallen on him like a great weight, but he croaked.
"Thank you, dearie, but I will be late. So go back home now and don't say a word or tell anybody what you've heard."
As he watched the pastor's child depart, he felt a strange tug deep down in his heart. But he shook it off with a snort and a shrug, and as he was leaving, he threw out the rug. It was 6:30, and the church would be full, so he cranked up the pickup and awaited he pulled. Up the winding dirt road to the top of the hill, he drove with their stuff, which then he would spill. When he came to the top, it was getting quite dark, as he drove to the cliff and put it in park. He jumped out of the truck and strode to the ledge, and stood looking unexpectedly looking expectantly over the edge.
They'll know by now,
He said with a grin.
that their services have all been done in. They're waiting, they're whining and moaning. They'll all shed a tear. That's something.
Said DeWitt.
I wish I could hear.
But he could hear a sound, quiet and low, rising up from the church in the valley below. But this sound wasn't tearful. Why, it sounded quite cheerful. Everyone there, to the smallest fellow, was singing their favorite songs a cappella. He hadn't stolen their joy, it remained. In spite of their glosses, they worshipped the same.
Maybe their joy doesn't come from what's done. Perhaps
He smiled.
it comes from someone.
But suddenly his heart was crushed with cold fear as he noticed the pickup had slipped out of gear. It rolled toward the cliff edge, that rusty old clunker, as he leaped in its path and shoved hard on the bunker. It didn't slow down, though steep on the side, and for the first time in his life, DeWitt prayed out to God.
Lord, I know I was wrong with all these church things to take, so save them and me also, for Jesus' sake.
And then the light of heaven shone in, and Mr. DeWitt was born again. He felt a strange power he had not felt before, as he found the strength of Samson and more. He stopped the old truck and turned it around, and then he hopped inside and drove down to the town. He pulled up at the church and brought back what he took, each musical instrument and every song book. Then he went to the altar, and beside it he knelt, and he praised the Lord Jesus